Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. As you're making it into the room, make sure that you say hello to everybody. See right here? It does us a huge favor. Let us know that you're here. Tell us what you're excited about, what you feel life and momentum on in your life. Also, let me know if our sound quality is there. Sometimes things just kind of happen, and you're like, well, we thought that we had the sound thing worked out and it was great. And then we find out later that it wasn't so great. So let us know. There's Samantha saying hello to us from Idaho. Welcome, Samantha. Harvey's joining us from South Florida. Excited about new discovery and clients I am getting from last week's lead magnets. Harvey's crushing it, you guys. Like, he's absolutely crushing it. While some of you guys have been debating about becoming a coach and everything else, Harvey jumped in out of a 3-year retirement to be like a 6-figure coach in just a few months, which is insane. But man, we love Harvey. Anel is joining us from, I believe, San Diego, or is it South Dakota? You let me know. If you're making it into the room right now, what are we doing? I'm just saying hello to everyone. We're about to jump into our topic, but I always give everybody a minute to be able to jump in. And obviously, I'm in the studio in California. I'd love to hear from you. So again, just a huge favor. Also, like this post, share it. When you like, share, and comment, it tells Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job. And we're really trying with these Mentor Mondays to not only be motivational, but we also want to be really practical and give you some tools to keep you encouraged and motivated and moving along. Shomir saying hello, glad to be here. I'm tuning in from Atlanta. Tamala is joining us from Dallas. Hey, Tamala. Anybody else like to say hello to us? And I know, some parts of this particular series, there's some weeks that some people are like, that's not so exciting. Actually, tonight's going to be very exciting. We're talking about commitment. And some of you are probably like, I don't have a problem with that. And there's probably some people who are not tuning in because they think, it's just a story, just another little talk about commitment. I don't have a problem there. Well, tonight we're going to talk about it, and I think it's going to be really helpful. It's also going to be some things that you're going to be able to help your clients with as well. Lynn's joining us from Vermont. Sandy is joining us from New Jersey. Welcome. Awesome. Well, everyone, let's go ahead and jump in. A couple of weeks ago, we started this. It's actually been more than a few weeks ago. We started this series called Thriving as a Coach. And you know what? We're already at the end. We're at week 5. So you can go back in time to previous weeks when we started this. Week 1, we talked about having a passion for learning as being one of the characteristics that we see in successful coaches. We also talked about resilience. We also talked about simplicity. We talked about consistency. Some of those things don't sound very glamorous, do they? They don't sound very exciting until you actually see how they show up in life, and they're actually really powerful. And the coaches that I see that are extraordinarily successful, they have all 5 of these things, including this one, which is commitment. And what I would really say, I could have probably started the entire series with commitment. I wanted to finish with commitment. Because what I would say is commitment really undergirds all of these things that we've been talking about over the last few weeks. Because I would say that the people that I see that have a high level of commitment also display those different characteristics that are in there. But just out of curiosity, I just wonder, have you ever heard anybody say this before? Have you ever heard anyone say this, that I have commitment issues? Have you ever heard anybody say that? Have you ever said that yourself, where somebody'd say, I have commitment issues? Well, here's the thing, is that's a myth. No one has commitment issues. There's a lot of people who think I have commitment issues, but that's not true at all. Matter of fact, what I would say is that everyone is committed to something. And whatever you're committed to is what your true commitment is. And that true commitment is actually what wins out in your life all the time. Your truest commitment wins out every time in your life. And so I got a nice little trusty whiteboard that's going to help me map this out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about something that you may or may not have any experience with, but I'm going to take a common problem and I'm going to show you how commitment, what its role plays and everything else. And you're going to see it in a very different light than you've probably ever seen it before. I want you to think back in your life At any time, has there ever been a moment in your life when you started something, but somewhere along the way you quit? I want you to think about something that maybe at one time in your life was really important or somewhat important, and you started it, and then you quit it. And I would say that probably the universal thing that everybody has an experience with in terms of starting and stopping is probably getting in shape, right? If we're all honest, like probably all of us have this common experience. Even if we didn't have a lot of weight, and at times you can definitely had look back in my life, and definitely up until like 6th grade I was a really chunky kid. You can look back at pictures. It's quite cute. It didn't feel very cute at the time. For me it was actually pretty uncomfortable, but that's where I was. And definitely a couple of times in adulthood when it was like, oh, what happened? Got on the heavy side during that time or whatever. And I would say that for all of us, if even if you didn't have weight issues, there was probably a time that you wanted to be more fit. And what did you have? You had a notion, you had a picture of something that you wanted to be, and you weren't really happy with where you were. But what happens with so many people is that so many people have that commitment, right? They want this thing, but then they end up quitting at some point. And so as we're looking at diet, what I want to do is, if somebody starts and they're like, man, at some point they're like, man, this is the way that I want to look. This is the way that I look right now. And you know what? Sometimes when they see, sometimes you can get uncomfortable enough. Sometimes you can see a picture, you can hear an exciting story or whatever, and you're like full of passion. You are lit, because that's what I would say, that when someone is in this position right here, here's what's true. This is what's true of all coaches. Same thing that's true for everybody when they start a diet or some kind of a new fitness fad or whatever. Everyone looks the same right here. Every coach that I have met in the past 20 years has looked the same at the very beginning. Every coach that I have trained, every coach that I have gone to school, because I've not only gotten trained and certified, but I've also gone back to continuing education and a lot of other things. Every coach, I'm telling you, they all look the same right here. Every one of you have looked the same right here. Passion, excitement, my purpose. I'm finally doing this thing. And what that also means is that a lot of those coaches who start there end up going and getting certified as a coach. That's a pretty exciting time. I'm not taking that away. That's a big accomplishment. Everybody looks the same right here. They have a picture of what they want. And you know what happens is that they decide that they're going to do something about it, and everybody looks like they're going to finish. Every one of you looked exactly the same to me. Excited, a little bit of self-doubt because it's normal amongst coaches, but I can never tell on the front end who's going to go and crush it and who are going to be the ones who have a failure to launch. I'll see the failure to launch, and I can usually start seeing it 3, 6, 9 months will really tell me the bigger picture of whether or not you're going to be a successful coach. Because it's, as much as I love the excitement and I love the passion of everybody who tries to start, this is going to be what you're going to see with all your clients as well. Everybody looks the same when they start. You are convinced that they're going to get to the finish line. You're absolutely convinced. And so what happens is, just like it does with a diet, you know what? Everybody looks the same right here, and you know what? They're doing all the right things. Look at that. We're eating the right thing. We're on the treadmill. We're lifting weights. Might even get a trainer. Might even read some books. Might even cook some stuff at home and bring it to work. I mean, yes, we know, because there's tons of information out there. Because what we have to understand is that how to is not the problem, okay? The access point to getting anything that we want, including you launching your coaching practice and becoming a successful coach and everything else, there is a plan for that. There is a program for that. There are steps for that. And last I checked, every diet plan and every exercise plan that I've ever seen, they all work. Reality is that they all work. But what what we have to be honest about, what happens in these diets? Well, this is what happens. Most of us would probably say, well, I started that thing, but stuff happens. Stuff like this, where, what? I know I've been trying to eat the right thing, but you know what I've been doing? I've been going to the gym every day. I'm lifting weights right now. I should deserve a cheat day, a cheat time during, like, oh, it won't be so big of a deal to have a slice of cake right here, or a sandwich over here, or whatever, or an extra cheese, or I'm going to drink a little bit too much this weekend because I'm going to go sweat it off in the gym or something like that. And so we'll justify those things because you know what? We're staying in the gym, but you know what else happens along the way? These kinds of things where you're like, oh, I'm really sore, man. That was a really hard workout. And you know what we associate going to the gym with then? We associate it with pain. And you know what the reality is that we don't like it. There's certain things. This is what I see with coaches. Start out with all this passion, and this is what starts happening. Some cheat days, some bad habits that they had before. Because what did I say previously? In another week, you can go back in time if you missed it. You can't think like an employee anymore. You got to think like an owner. And so what we'll do on our cheat days is that we'll think like an employee. We'll phone it in. We'll not follow through. We won't be consistent. We won't do the, hey, it's just one day, but I'm staying consistent on some of these other times or whatever. And so what you'll notice is that a day will turn into a week. It'll turn into a couple of weeks. It won't just be one little cheat thing, because what you'll find is that you're not doing enough here to balance out the cheat. See, this is what also happens, that you start associating the things that you don't like in a diet thing. You associate the things that you don't like. The reality is that somebody doesn't want to go to the gym and sweat. Most people don't want to be sore the next day. Most people don't want to work legs and walk around like this the other day, looking like they've got something happening, like that I don't know. I don't want to go there. But people who walk around look like something happened to them. Like they're having digestive issues. I'll just leave it at that, okay? And so they'll associate what they're doing with pain, and they're going to avoid the pain. And, well, that bed, it's so comfy. It's so comfy. And sometimes it's like it's one day sleeping in. You know what? And sometimes it's because they stayed up too late the night before, and now they're associating getting up and losing sleep with pain and everything else. And so what most people will say is, you know what? Stuff happened. And you know what? People start giving themselves an out. You know what they'll start saying? They'll start saying things like, well, this wasn't sustainable. Bull crap. That's bull crap. Everything's sustainable. The truth is, as I look at this, is that there was a greater commitment to something else than to get in shape. That's the simplest thing that I could tell you. There was commitment. It's not a commitment issue. It's not a commitment issue at all. The reality is that they were committed to something, and that commitment was working, because you will always do what you're most committed to. I'll show it to you like this. See if I get this thing out the way. Let me see if I can get that out the way for you really quick. This is what we're talking about. See, things don't just happen. Some of you still believe, because you're thinking like an employee, that things just happen. You know what things are happening is that every day in your life, you're making choices all day long. You get hundreds, thousands of choices, really, every day that you're making in every moment. And what's actually deciding those choices for you in these moments is this. It's your deepest level of commitment makes a choice for you. Because what is the difference between someone who gets in shape and someone who does not get in shape? Someone who starts a diet and they maintain it because it is sustainable. What is the difference between someone who is a failing coach who had a failure to launch and a coach who is successful? It is up to the deepest level of commitment. And what we understand is that there is no conflict anymore when it comes to making the decision. You know why? Because when you are truly committed to something, there are no other options. Your deepest level of commitment will choose. I mean, how many of you who are listening to me right now have been married for a year, 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, and you've never cheated on your spouse in all those years. And you've never even thought of cheating on your spouse. You know why? Because your deep commitment made those other things no option in your life. It's not a commitment issue. It's that we have. It's that we don't have a deep level of commitment to the things that we want that could actually markedly change our life. Because when you actually make a commitment, it actually eliminates all of these options. See, stuff like this, it doesn't just happen. It happens because this is what someone's really committed to. They're not committed to a new lifestyle. They're not committed to doing what it takes to look like they want to look. So what we end up getting is essentially this. Let me see if I can light this back up for you. This is what we get. See, your deepest level of commitment right here, we find out what someone's deepest level of commitment is. And for most people, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to be for most coaches. You know why you didn't never have to fear about being in competition with coaches? Because most coaches I know who are graduating from other programs are washing out before they ever started. I know this. You want to call this is the dirty secret in the industry. I'm giving it to you right now. I know most of those people who are graduating from other programs are never going to do anything with it. You know how I know that? Because they haven't gone after this, and they're not talking about the things that we're talking about. They're going and getting trained and certified as a coach, and those people are more than happy to take their thousands of dollars and give them a certificate that makes them feel better about their life, but they're not going to do anything with it because they haven't gone after these things. This is why I'm talking to you. This is why our coaches who go through our Jumpstart program are more successful and make more money than other programs, because we talk about these things and we hold each other accountable, because there's an accountability inside of our community, and we talk about these things all the time, and we have steps, but there's accountability and there's relationship and there's all these other kinds of things. Because most people left up to their own devices, whether they are coaches in training or they are your clients, this is where they are going to go, to their deepest level of commitment, which is what? You know what it is? It's plan B. How many of you right now have a plan B when it comes to your coaching practice, when it comes to your coaching career? Let me tell you something. Most of you have a plan B that looks like your life does right now. And you know what that tells me? Your deepest level of commitment is going to be plan B, which looks surprisingly similar to your life right now. I'm not saying that even your deepest level of commitment will necessarily make you look like the picture that you started with. That's not really the point. See, your deepest level of commitment might be the plan B, and at least you look different. At least there's consistency. At least there's a remarkable change from before and after. Listen, I'm not against plan B, but if plan B looks like your life right now, you have started the race with a determination to not change. And I'm not going to allow it. Like, if you're around me in my life, if you're in my Jumpstart group, if you're in any kind of listening range of me, any kind of email range, I'm going to go after this stuff, and we're not going to allow you just to hide. Now, some of you will unsubscribe from my email list, and some of you will never take a step, and some of you will never watch another Mentor Monday. And some have actually chosen tonight, man, I don't want to hear anybody talk about commitment. I'm talking about the real stuff that'll absolutely change your life, because I want you to be a success, and I believe in it. But it does mean that you've got to confront what is your real commitment. You don't have commitment issues. You have something else that's actually taking place in your life. And here's what's actually taking place in your life. Let's take a peek at this. Here's what's going on is that you do have an alignment issue. Like, if you've ever found a time when you didn't follow through with something, it wasn't really commitment. Is that you didn't have what you really wanted, any clarity there, and you didn't have your life aligned so that your commitment supported, because all of you have commitments to something. Some of you right now, you have a greater commitment to not failing than succeeding as a coach. Some of you have a greater commitment to not being afraid, and so you don't do the things that are really hard. Some of you have a greater commitment to bad habits than having good habits that reinforce what you need to do. Some of you have a greater commitment to not putting yourself out there and being embarrassed than you do to put yourself out there. You know, some of you have a greater commitment to not going 100% in and going 100 miles an hour because you're so afraid of disappointment. So your greater commitment is, I'll feel better about myself if I don't go 100% in, then it won't feel as disappointing if I don't make it. And you know what? That's actually costing you in the long run. If you're not 100%, if you're not really committed to this thing, well, you know what? You are going to have a failure to launch. See, the reality is, let me go back to this. Here's how I know what you're committed to. I know this is going to be rough and it's going to sound really painful to some, but here's how I know what you're really committed to. If what you started with over here looks like this, or it looks like this, then I know that you are in the ball game and you are in it to win it. If you start right now in October 2022 and you get certified as a coach, whatever that looks like, artwork's is not always the best. You get certified as a coach, and in October 2023, you are not practicing as a coach and you don't have any clients, then I know what your greater commitment was to that. It wasn't to actually become a coach. That wasn't your greatest commitment. You were committed to something else along the way. I know that sounds like a harsh reality. I can always tell what your commitment is. Not on the front end for some of you. I can tell 3 months in, 6 months in, a year in. Are you coaching? Do you have a business? That goal that you said that you wanted, even if it's to be a part-time coach people on the side or whatever, if you're not doing it, that was never your commitment to begin with. This is why you've got to align your life so that you can actually get what you say that you want. Because I think it's an alignment issue. I have no doubt that some of you are like, man, I'm passionate about this. This is my purpose. This is my calling. This is my destiny. All those things. I don't have any doubts. But commitment's not the same thing as those things. So what we got to do is I'm going to show you really quickly how you align your life to around what you really want so that come 1 year from now, you will have a coaching business. You will have clients. You will have more free time, whatever it is that you're wanting in your life, that you can have it. But I'm going to show you how to get it. And I'm going to show you how to align your life so that you don't really have commitment issues. It's not a commitment issue. I want to show you how to align yourself so that you're actually committed to what you say you want. Here's how we do that. Starts out like this. Your alignment issues get resolved, first of all, by getting clear about what's most important. I did this a few weeks ago, showed you guys even on a Tuesday power lunch, gave you a tool even. You can ask me for it, you can email us for it or whatever. But basically what I always encourage our coaches to do, and I think that every one of you, if you've not done it, you should do it. You should do a values assessment. You need to get really clear about what is most important to you. See, when you know what's most important, there's no way that you could be indecisive. You'll never be indecisive about two different choices because there's going to be a one clear choice to make because you know what's most important. Let's say it like that. Let's talk about it like this. If your child is sitting with you, and let's say you've got it at any age, but let's say that they are 3 years old and there is no food in the house and there's no food that's accessible and you're away from any kind of a restaurant and you have no way of getting any kind of money, and the only thing that you have is one hot dog right in front of you, who's going to eat that hot dog? I guarantee you the 3-year-old's going to get the hot dog and you are going to starve. You know why? Because commitment makes it, there's no other options. You're not going to eat that hot dog and be like, hey, you're young, I'm starving, we'll find something for you later. No, your commitment determines, and it makes the decision really, really easy. Those of you who are deciding against and you're doing things that are not in alignment for you to get what you want, it's because you don't know what's most important, and that's why you've got to get really clear about what's most important. Some of you are actually in conflict with those things, and so you've got to know what you are most committed to. You know what? If it's your family, if it's to your children, if it's to your career, like whatever it is, I'm not a judge of that. You need to have in very explicit terms written down, probably in front of you. I'm old school. the things that I want in my life, I'm not talking about vision boards. I've never been into those. I'm not a judge of those or anything else. I know some people who have gotten exactly what they put on their vision board, and they have different things. I have one of these things. And I've went through several of them over the years. You can buy these on Amazon for like 10 bucks. They give you this little ring and you make as many cards as you want. Now, most people use them for exams, but you know what I use them for? I use them to remind me of what my deepest commitments are, what's most important, and what I am driving towards in my life. And I do. I flip through these things and I speak these things over my life. I'm very serious about those kinds of things. And what I do with that is that I don't allow it to leave my mouth. I don't allow it to leave here. I don't want it. Listen, there's things that are going to come up all the time. There are things that are pulling at me, things that are telling me. There's ads on Instagram. There's all kinds of different things. They're saying, Paul, you need this. Paul, you need to do this. You know what I need? I need to not look to the left or look to the right. I need to know what's most important. I need to know what I'm committed to. And I need to keep that in front of me all the time. I need to keep my vision in front of me all the time of what is most important. And see, when I do that, I know what I'm most committed to, and I get a really, really clear picture of what the future must look like. I take a bite of those things. I invest in those things, and I remind myself, because here's what happens. See, a lot of times when people, let's go back to the weight loss thing or whatever, getting in shape. See, I think that a lot of times people start things and they have no idea what they really want. They have no idea what they're committed to, what's most important, and what's even the picture of the future look like. They go on generics. That's why coaches will come to me at times and they're just thinking about becoming a coach. And they're like, well, what's the going rate for a first year coach? And they're just going to do what everybody else is doing. They don't have a vision for themselves. They copycat other people who really aren't that successful. They don't have a clear picture of what they want. When somebody says to me, Paul, what should my going rate be? My first question is what is your goal? Like, do you know what you want? Listen, you can't have a goal. You can't get something that you don't like. How do you know that $50 an hour is going to do that for you? How do you know that $100 an hour is going to do that? How do you know that $300 an hour is going to do that? How do you know that coaching people one-on-one is going to help you get you to where you want to go? You don't know. People, how could you go about your life in this kind of a way? But people do arbitrary things. I see new coaches do that all the time. You know what? It's a recipe for disaster. You don't have a clue where you're going. It's amazing. We're trying to help people achieve goals and achieve a vision for their life, but we don't have one for ourselves. It needs to be defined. It needs to be clear. We need to have a vision for who we want to be, what that's going to look like, what would it feel like, what would it taste like, what would the morning look like if I did have all of that free time. What vision do you have for your children? Where do you want them to be? How do you want, like, we don't ask these questions, and so we don't have a clear picture. So it's only a matter of time where this gets really fuzzy and you just quit. You just, well, whatever else comes up, whatever is the greater commitment, which just happens to be plan B, doing the same thing over and over again. But let's go on. A couple of things, and I'm going to show you examples of how you do this. You got to eliminate conflicts in your commitment. You know what that means? Is that when you get clear about what is most important in life. See, some of you, the reason why you're running into things that you need to do is that you have there's some things that inherently you know that it should be important that you are committed to, and it's creating conflicts for you when you're starting your business. Like, I'll give you an example. 85% of the students of Life Coach Training Institute are women. And many of them are working full-time jobs and have children. And I would say most of them are working full-time and they have kids. I've heard from them for so long and everything else, and I know and I understand that. Some of them might be empty nesters or whatever, but I'd say that most of the people that I know, most of the people I talk with, they have families, they have full-time careers, they have children or whatever. I know that. And so what happens is that when you have your commitments in conflict with one another, let's say that somebody's like, man, I really love my kids and it's important to be in their life. And so it's so important that they're with their kids when they should be working on business, but they're also working on business and feeling guilty that I need to be with my kids. But when I'm with my kids, I'm thinking about what I need to get done over here. And now I'm in conflict. And so I feel guilt. And you know what? Guilt shuts you down every time. Guilt is the master of shutting people down. So if you feel guilty about working on your business and starting something because of some other priority or commitment, I guarantee you're not going to follow through. This is why you need alignment. You need alignment in these things. You need a clear picture, and you need alignment so that you that you eliminate those conflicts altogether. What you have to do is that you have to align all of your priorities with your goal. It's fine if that family is a priority. It was a priority for me. When I started out, you want to hear about some of my priorities? I started out, I was working full time. I just changed careers in turn. Well, I shouldn't say I changed careers. I had a previous career, then I took a job that didn't need very much of me because my wife had major illness and we had two small kids, and I really needed to be at home. I didn't need to be working 6 days a week and occupied with stuff even on that seventh day. So I bit the bullet, took a job. I'd gotten laid off. We'd went homeless, and I passed on the best offers that I had so that I could be available for my wife and kids and everything else, which meant that I wasn't making enough to barely pay the bills. And so, I coaching started out as a side gig. I never thought that I could go full time in coaching. And you know what that looked like? That looked like me skipping meals because that's the only way that I could do business and I could make sure that my kids had the things that they needed. It meant that when I would get an offer to go speak at a conference somewhere or whatever, I would go all the way there and I would starve the entire time because I wasn't going to spend money on airport food. And I would drink or eat whatever was on the plane in my economy seat. And then I would get there and I would get the check or whatever they would give me. And I would put it in the bank there, wherever I was, just in case I died on the flight on the way back home, because I knew what my priority was. It was my kids. It was them having things, this back to school stuff, all that. I understood those things. I'd eat popcorn out of a drawer. It was kind of like the snack room, and they had a snack room drawer with like microwave popcorn. That's what I would eat 2 times out of the day so that I didn't have to spend money on food. I understand what sacrifice looks like. I understand what commitment looks like. When I would get up really, really early in the morning before my kids woke up and I would work on my business, I'd go to a networking group. I'd also get up really early on a Saturday morning and work with a client and be home before anybody was awake in the house. Those are things that I understood. But see, when you know what you're living for, because hey, it was really easy. You know, it's really easy when you need to keep a roof over the house, and coaching's going to help you do that. It gets you past your fear of failure, and people aren't going to like me, or I'm going to feel really uncomfortable, or whatever. I had one pair of dress pants and I had two dress shirts. That's all I owned. And I would alternate those shirts and hope that no one noticed I was wearing the same pants all the time. And that's the way that I worked all the time until I built this thing up. See, it was really easy because there were no other options because I knew what my commitment was. And it kept me, and since I was aligned, my family was still priority. My business wasn't taking me away from my family. I understood what I needed to do. And you know what? First priority, first order of business is going to be feeding my family and keeping a roof over their head. So everything that I was doing was in alignment. See, some of you don't have scarcity going on and lack at that level. So let me help you simplify with this example. For those of you who would say, quality time with my children is a priority. And you would follow that up with saying, starting my coaching business is a priority, and it takes some of my extra time. Well, that's a recipe for disaster. That is a recipe for pain right there. And there's a reason why. Just what I said. In this alignment, and many of you have this kind of alignment with your priorities, with your commitments, something is going to win and something is going to lose. And you know what? I don't want your kids to lose on this thing. I don't. That's a top priority. My wife had a successful career when we first got married, and when we had our first child, we made major sacrifices so that she could be home because we saw that as such a priority and such a need for her to be with them. You know, that was a decision. I'm not saying that's a decision for everybody, but it was a decision that we made, which meant that there was a lot more on my back. There was a lot more responsibility on me when it came to those things. But just because you make a commitment with something, it doesn't mean that something else should lose, should it? And so what happens in this is that in most cases, for good people who love their children, the business is going to suffer before anything else does. And let me show you how to align this then. See, if you want to get this aligned, what you have to do is that you have to align what you are doing in business with the fact that quality time with your children is a priority. So you can keep that. Quality time with my children is a priority. That's a good thing. But you've also got to align it like this: starting my own coaching business, because some of you think that starting your own coaching business is just a dream. If you just think that starting a coaching business is just something I'd like to do, I'd like to live my passion. Well, if you just like to do it, you're probably never going to do it. If you align it like this, like I would say how I had to align it in my life, it made it really simple to make decisions. Starting my own coaching business will allow me to have more quality time and be available anytime my kids need me. I can't tell you what an amazing thing it is to not work an 8-hour day. That anytime that my wife has needed me over the years, anytime my kids have needed me, anytime there was something at my daughter's school, anything, I've not missed anything. I've not missed any of my kids' birthdays, though I used to. Like in my previous career, I would have to leave the birthday early or something like that, or just not, or I wasn't quite available. I'm dialed in to my kids. I know what I'm teaching my teenager how to drive right now. I'm doing that. I'm doing those kinds of things. Now we're going to have a driving school as well. I'm going to pay for that because I want somebody who's got that doohickey that will actually keep people from not getting in a wreck. So I bring her in parking lots and everything else. Hey, I'm engaged in that way. I was in several hours this past week in my daughter's gymnastics classes, watching and taking video. And when she'd come get water, cheering her on, while at the same time getting on a business call while I was on there and everything else. I'm fully all in. I'm fully all engaged. And I'm thankful that I don't have to miss moments that I used to never be able to be there for. But I have it aligned. My business is actually allowing me to do these kinds of things. But it's got to start out day one. This isn't a future thing, that what you are doing right now, you've got to be aligned so that your commitments are in alignment and you don't feel in conflict. See, in this alignment, your goal has a deeper meaning. It's not just about making money. It's not just about financial freedom. It's not just about your purpose to help humanity. It's a commitment to a bigger picture and what's most important. As you're visualizing your future, you need to think about what that means for the lives of your kids, not just financially, not just in prosperity. I think it's pretty important for dad to be sitting over there during a practice and cheering things on. When I can notice that my daughter is accomplishing something that she's been working on and how marvelous it was in the moment. I'm not one of those parents who's sitting over there on their devices bored. I see those people, they don't realize how little time they have. My youngest daughter is 10 years old. She's already halfway to adulthood already. And I recognize these things. And I'm going to be present and I'm going to speak into these moments because I know that they're really important. But I knew that that was important years ago when I started to become a coach, because I wasn't just trying to become a coach just for the sake of humanity, but it actually was considering my family ahead of time. See, I understand. I'm thinking about the picture of what I want my daughter to look like. What do these moments really hold? What does this really mean in those times for me to be able to be present and to be active in their life and not having to only show up when my boss is allowing me to show up? This is the way that it works, folks. See, with this alignment, what this means is that I'm treating my time as sacred. See, when you have your commitments, you'll protect your quality time with your children by staying off social media, TV, and other time killers. See, some of you are just sitting around scrolling for days. Some of you have actually checked social media while I've been on here right now, besides the fact that I'm on a Facebook video right now. But some of you have already been checking things while you're here. You're so distracted. You don't have a priority in your life. This is what happens when you have other options to go kill time like that. Then you know what that's telling me is that your family really isn't your number one priority for quality time, because that time could have been spent building your business so that you have more time with your kids. That's what I'm talking about. This is the way that we've got to align it. It's the exact same way that you guys, some of you are married or you're in a romantic relationship, and it's never even been an option or a thought in your mind that you would have an affair on those people because there's a commitment that's there. in the exact same way that we regard our time, in exactly the same way that how I invest my free time is going to determine the nature, the level at which I'm able to celebrate, be invested in my kids, whatever. I understand these kinds of things. And to burn 15 hours watching a bunch of Netflix episodes when I could have actually been building a business that would allow me to spend more time really is a commitment issue. And when I start recognizing it as a commitment issue, that it's taking away from the vision that I have for my child's life, I guarantee you, maybe if it was just for me, I don't care. I'm going to eat ice cream and I'm going to veg out and watch Netflix for 15 hours. But when I see my kid and the fact that they have needs and they need me, and I wish I could show up, I wish I didn't have to miss a Christmas program or whatever is going on with my kid because of work. These are the moments where it's like, this is not an option for me anymore. I've got to treat my time as sacred so that I get this time with my child. It also means stuff like this. I'll go to bed and I'll get up earlier to protect my creative time, to develop my business so that my kids will get more time with me. And so what ends up happening is that time starts to become precious because now my commitments are aligned and wasting time is not an option. This is what commitment looks like. Probably very different than most of you thought of what I was going to talk about commitment generically. This is how we've got to understand. Your deepest commitment always wins out. So knowing what your deepest commitment is and defining it crystal clear, a picture, and what does it mean? How do you show up in that commitment? The disciplines in your life to show up is exactly the way that you think that they are in a relationship. I'm going to show up for my kids in this way for the sake of them in my business. I hope this is really encouraging for you. I want some of you who have been on the fence. Listen, 2022 is over with. It's already over. It's another year that you didn't get more quality time. You didn't get whatever that was. You didn't get to financial freedom. You didn't get to whatever. You know what you have the opportunity to do now? If you really want to make that commitment that it's not just I'd like to be a coach one day, I'd like to make more money, then I would say get trained and certified now. If it's not with us, find somebody. You know what you've got? October is over with. This weekend is the 28th. We're doing a boot camp. You can join us, get trained and certified in a single weekend. You can get that out of the way. If you don't do that, here's what you've got. You've got the month of November and you've got the month of December. And January is the almost first, second busiest, most productive, best financial month of the year for coaches. If you don't do something now, you're going to miss that month. So let's say that you wait until January. That means you're going to be starting your business in April, May, June, something like that. You really do, realistically, you could start today and have a business up and going for a January launch. You really could if you're willing to make the commitment, if you're willing to pay the price. And I understand if you want to scroll through Facebook, you want to scroll through Instagram, you want to watch TikToks all day. Well, I don't know that that's going to get you to the life that you want. I'm not trying to be a critic. I like to have my laughs with Instagram reels and things like that in the times that I have earned the right to do that, when my top priorities have been taken care of, which is actually your life and it's my kids' life and my family's life. I want you to know that you're a priority in my life. So things that I think about. That's why I don't make choices that I could make because I've maybe earned the right and I've got my free time. I don't use that free time for anything except dreaming up. How do I support you? How do I serve you and help you? But I need you to show up. Like, if this means anything to you, I need you to show up. How can you show up? There's a link inside the description today in this video where you can get enrolled. Now I'm going to show you the cheat to get this done as cheaply as you possibly can, because what we've tried to do with life coach training is to make it affordable and to make it on your own terms, on your own schedule. You don't have an excuse. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. It's all bullcrap. We've taken those excuses away. What we did when we started our program all the way back in 2014, we've never changed our price. Our bottom line price for life coach certifications was $195 in 2014. In 2022, it's still $195. We haven't gone up. But we have added tons and tons of advanced training, additional training, step by steps to build your business and everything else, because we don't want you just getting trained and certified. We want you to crush it. How do you do that? Well, the best thing that I would recommend is to join our Jumpstart program. It's $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. You can see everything that's involved in there. You get trained, you get certified. Our life coach certification course that we have, not only can you go through it self-paced, but we're now doing Tuesday night trainings. Not only will you go through every one of these modules that I'm showing here that give you the core competencies of coaching, but that every night that we have training concludes with a live Q&A. Last week we had live role playing so that you can actually experience coaching and you don't have to do this thing alone. I understand if your schedule's such that you've got to do something self-paced, this has you covered, but you also have access to people so that you don't have to do this alone. We give you a ton of tools. We give you assignments that help you develop your coaching muscles so that you can actually feel confident to go out and do this thing. And so this is what we're doing just in the life coach certification course. When you join Jumpstart, you get access to this, but you also get access to this weekend. This weekend is the last boot camp of the entire year. This is what we'd say is like super accelerated training. All of our training is accelerated. This weekend means that we put the rocket booster on your back, and we're going to start on Friday. And I'm going to bring you through all of the sessions on Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Every session from beginning to end ends with a live Q&A. We also have live role playing. You get all of those tools. You get everything that we do in an entire weekend. You finish your training in one weekend. So for those of you who are like, oh, well, I don't have a lot of time or whatever, maybe this works for you. Maybe during the week does not work for you. I understand that. You know what? If you can't make all the sessions this weekend, you can watch the replay on them. It's as easy as we can possibly make it. But if you can make it to the majority of sessions this weekend, then you can get enrolled for this. Now, if you just got enrolled for boot camp and nothing else, it's $247. There's an easy pay plan for that and everything else. But if you join Jumpstart, it's $97 with a 3-month minimum commitment. When you think about the math, don't go cheap. $97 a month isn't that much more. It's Starbucks every day. If you drink drip at Starbucks, $3.25 a day. You get boot camp, which is this weekend. You knock all of your training out, put you in the driver's seat for January. Jumpstart also includes brand camp. We walk you through step by step, by the hand. How do you develop your website? How do you develop your marketing message? How do you optimize your website for search engines? How do you write a sales page? How do you write an email? We've got tons of tools and bonuses. We walk you through all of the steps so that you have a solid marketing message. We also give you the coaching product launch blueprint. If you have just kind of even a vague idea, we'll take you from discovering your niche from literal zero to launch in 8 weeks. Or you can actually progress through the training. I say 8 weeks. We did that originally through 8 weeks, but you've got basically 10 hours of a walkthrough with all of the tools that help you brainstorm and put everything together for your launch of your business, your course, your coaching product, whatever it is. We walk you through all of those steps. Again, Jumpstart's $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. You get the A to Z business development roadmap. You get all the courses that we talked about, discovering your niche, attracting clients. But the best part, in my opinion, is that Wednesdays we go live again just with the Jumpstart students. We give feedback on anything that anybody submits. We go through celebrating wins, and you'll get to grow with a community of coaches, because one of the biggest things that I believe all of you need is that you need accountability, and you need people who are in the trenches with you doing the same thing that you want to do. And that's what Jumpstart, I really believe, is one of the biggest keys in it, is that people hold you accountable. You're not going to just like hide out and do nothing. People will help you. They'll grow. You might have some people who are a couple of months ahead of you. They'll help you grow, figure it out, and we succeed and we win together. No, it's not a competitive environment. You wouldn't believe how much the Jumpstart coaches are interacting during the week and helping each other. Even outside, like conversations, I don't even know what's going on. Like, and people are friends and all of these things. You don't have to do this thing alone. $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. If you enroll today, you can join us for boot camp this weekend or even live training tomorrow night or our call on Wednesday. So, man, I talked forever. Sorry about that. Let's say hi to some more people and respond to some comments in here. Harvey says commitment is everything. Let me see. Who else do I need to say hello to? Cassandra. Hey, Cassandra. There's Teresa and Kissimmee. Let me see. Who else do I need to say hello to? Oh, yeah. And Shamir says, trying to keep old habits while trying to incorporate new habits usually ends up with the old habits outweighing the value of new habits in our minds, especially. That's great. And also, just as a reminder, on inside of our Power Lunch group, but I think it's also on our YouTube channel or whatever. I actually show you guys how to replace old bad habits with some that reinforce what you actually want in your life. And you can watch that video. It's about, I don't know, it's about 30 or 40 minutes long, something like that. Hey, there's Sammy. Hey, Sammy. Teresa says she's been married for 30 years. Congrats. So good. Shamir says, I do not have a plan B. Plan B's always result in me not doing my best. So good. Samantha says, never stop. I need that. Thank you. W. Brewer says, do you teach us how to get clients? Yes, in the Jumpstart program, that's all that's involved there is all about business development. Yes, you get trained and certified as a coach, but like I always say, our forward mission statement of Life Coach Training Institute is proficient coaches, thriving practices. And so we spend the lion's share of everything that we do in Jumpstart on business development. So you absolutely will. Harvey says, hold out your vision in the forefront. Deborah says, you nailed it. Thank you. Who else do I need to say hello to on here? Harvey says that Jumpstart is the best deal and value of the century. Bill says, I have no commitment issues, just a commitment to status quo or not being aligned with priorities. Cool. Lynn says, another great session. Shomir says, it's the best deal, and I love boot camp. Thank you. Teresa says, Jumpstart is the bomb. As Harvey said, the deal of the century. Sandy says, thanks for the tough love and being brutally honest. The accountability piece is real. Awesome, Sandy. Teresa says, Paul, I really needed to hear this message tonight. Thank you. You are the best. Thank you. Appreciate all that kindness. Does anybody, I know I'm like 30 seconds ahead of you guys. Anybody have any? Oh, and I should be especially excited. You know why? Because LSU knocked off the number 7 team in the country when we were completely unranked this weekend. It was pretty awesome. I don't hold out hopes that we're going to or it's a rebuilding year, but that was pretty significant. 40-25 over Ole Miss. That was pretty awesome. So we'll just have to see but unfortunately my Padres lost to the Phillies. Dang it. In 5 games. We were just out after beating those teams that we were beating, getting a wild card spot and then just getting knocked off. I tried so hard to believe though. Like Padres always break your heart, just like the Chargers used to. And then they brought their game to LA. I don't know. All right. Who else I need to say hello? Anybody? All right. I think we're all good. Hey, listen, everybody. As always, I appreciate you spending your time with me on a Monday. It means a ton to be able to walk with you on this journey. Hey, this link is inside the description. Click that link. You can look at the schedule of things and everything else. Get enrolled. Please allow us to join you in this journey. I don't think that you're going to regret it in the least. I think that you're going to actually be blown away because everything that I'm always told is that we're always underselling what we do. And I wish I could show you everything that was on the back end and how we do it. But it's kind of hard to do that all the time. So get enrolled and hopefully I'll see you either tomorrow or I will see you Wednesday. We're so busy. Tuesday night training, Wednesday, Jumpstart group coaching call. And then this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, people are going to be knocking out their certification and getting ready for January, which is going to be amazing. So I'm going to let you guys go. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care.